Everyone, how are you all doing? I hope you are good. I hope you are doing good. I'm quickly just checking if I'm live on Instagram. So today I want to talk to you about the fact that we all, as bakers, we need to know our recipes. We need to understand our recipes, right? We need to understand our recipes. We need to know our recipes. So that is what I'm talking to you guys about today. So if you're watching me live, please say hello. I think it's just a nice thing to do, so I know I'm not talking to myself. If you are watching me on the replay, then please do comment with hashtag replay. It's really a nice way to get to know you guys because I absolutely love getting to know you. All right, so let's talk about understanding your recipes and understanding what actually it is that's happening in your baking business in terms of your recipes. Okay, so if you're new to me, my name is Esther the Cake Queen. I help overwhelmed and passionate cake makers transition into owners of profitable and rewarding baking businesses. That is what I do. Today I'm coming to you guys from bed, and I thought like let me just do a pop-up live, which is something that I'm doing these days to talk to you guys about, because I really do get a lot of questions about this specific particular issue. I get a lot of questions on why and how, bakers are asking questions like how much cake batter do I actually need to bake an X type of cake, or there's just this a funny thing that bakers are always asking as to how much cake they need for an X type of cake, or how much cake batter they would need, or how many grams of cake batter they would need. And I really want to come down to this thing that we need to understand, guys. It's really high time for us to understand what's happening with our baking. We need to understand what's happening with our recipes. We need to know if you are baking anything, then what's really important is that you need to know how much cake batter one recipe is going to yield. So if you're baking a vanilla cake, you need to know, if I bake this vanilla cake, how much, what size of a cake will I get? Right? So my vanilla cake yields basically 2 6-inch tins of cake, like two. I can basically, from my vanilla cake recipe, I can get two tins, like 6-inch cake pans. Basically, I get two cakes, right? So if I'm building layers and my client orders a cake, then I know that if anyone is ordering a cake, then I know that I can use one recipe to build a 2-tier cake. And my cakes are usually 4 layers. So which means that I need to I need to mix up one recipe twice so that I can get those 4 layers. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? What I'm trying to say is that you need to start understanding how much cake batter you need in order to get X amount of cakes. Okay, so that you can avoid guessing. Like if you know that this recipe that I'm using, I can yield like a, say for example, a 1 layer 8-inch cake, or 2 layers of 6-inch cakes from this one recipe, then I know what to expect. Then I know how to calculate my costs. But if you don't understand that, then you will not be able to work out your cost. Then you will not know, like, if a client is going to send you a picture. Let me just take a really practical example. I'm going to quickly go into my cake library, and I have a photo here, like not a photo, but this is my what do you call it? This is my gallery on my phone, right? And you can see I have folders here. I have folders for all my stuff here, and I've created a specific folder for my cakes. So on my phone, I just have a folder that has my cake images, and all of these are my cake images, right? All of these are my cake images, right? So if I want to share like a cake image with any of my clients, then I just go here and I share it. Or if I want to share it to social media, I just save it here and then I share it, right? So I want to take an example from here, and I want to like just teach you this one thing today. So this is an Ariel cake, okay? I did this cake about 2 weeks ago. This is an Ariel cake. And this cake had 4 layers, right? 4 layers. Just to make things simple, what I did was like 2 layers were vanilla and 2 layers were chocolate. So just to make things simple, let me say that all these layers were all these layers were vanilla. So what that means is, for my recipe, I need to understand, for these 4 layers, I need to understand how much am I gonna bake? How many eggs do I need? So I know my recipe, my vanilla cake recipe, is using 4 eggs. And if it's using 4 eggs and I need 4 layers, it means that I need to bake 2 recipes. Like I need to like basically bake 2 times. So I mix up that batter, and I use my two 6-inch cake tins, and I mix up that one recipe. I throw it in the oven. While that one is baking, I mix up the second batch, and I know it's going to take another two 6-inch cake tins. So basically, at the end of the day, I would have to bake 4 cake tins, which each of those cake tins will give me 1 layer. I mean, for some of you, you might just be baking one cake in just 1 layer, and then you might be cutting up those cakes. And I think this is very important. It's very important for you to understand your production process. It's very important for you to understand what's happening. So this is what I'm talking about, right? This is what I'm talking about. These are 4. If you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, there are 4 layers, and this is my vanilla cake. Actually, it's actually a lemon cake, but just for the purpose of this demonstration or exercise, you can see those are 4 layers, right? And I'm ready to decorate this cake. So my recipe will give me these 4 layers, and this is a 6-inch cake tin. So I'm gonna bake this over 2 rounds because my oven is very small and it's only going to take 2 6-inch tins. Actually, I only have two 6-inch cake tins. If I had more, I would have added more in my oven. So I'm gonna add those, and I'm gonna use 2 of my recipes. So if you are getting confused by everything I'm saying, what I'm really trying to share with you today is that you need to know what's happening in terms of your recipe. And if a client says, I want this type of a cake, then you need to know mentally what is happening in terms of your recipe measures, your ingredients, how many ingredients are you going to use, and understanding that will really help you with cake pricing. If you know that the type of cake that you are going to bake will just require 1 brick of butter to ice the entire cake, then you know what to expect. Okay, instead of, because I know that sometimes, if you are, especially when you're starting out, then you guess how much butter you need. You sometimes buy more than you need, because things like a butter and eggs and fresh milk and sour cream, and these things don't last forever. Okay, so I mean, I would understand if you would overstock on your icing sugar, your custard sugar, your sugar, or your flour, but you cannot afford to overstock on your eggs. You cannot afford to overstock on ingredients that have low shelf life. And then this is why I'm just coming from a point of, understand what your recipes, guys, you need to understand what your recipes are all about. And if you are having trouble like understanding what your recipes are all about, then I have linked a copy to I've in the description, I've linked up, hooked you guys up with a link to my recipe book, the exact one I'm using. That is the exact recipe book that I'm using. It has my recipes, it has my vanilla cake, my red velvet, my chocolate cake. It has all my cakes. You can literally go and download that and use that. I mean, I've baked these recipes for a number of times, right? I've baked it over and over for 2, 3 years. So, I mean, these recipes are tried and tested. And one thing that you need to know about your recipes, in order to master your recipe, because I mean, I don't get, my cakes don't sink, my cakes don't come out dry. So, in order to get your recipes right, in order to avoid cakes from sinking and having all these baking flops, then you need to trial and error. You need to constantly, make sure that you are baking consistently baking and practicing. I've created a PDF. It's called the 60 plus common mistakes bakers make. And these are mistakes that you can avoid. Basically 60 hacks, baking hacks that you can avoid. Please go and download that. Things like sifting your ingredients, things like weighing out your ingredients properly, things like checking your expiry dates. These are all important things that can really help you to avoid making those costly mistakes. I know of bakers that are like just throwing away their cake because they had not measured their baking powder or their baking soda correctly, and the cake just did not come out right. Okay, and this is really costing you a lot of money. It's costing you a lot of money, it's costing you time and pain and heartache. And I don't want that for anyone. So please do go download that. The link is in the description. And for me, I really just want you to come to a point where you understand what's happening in your baking process. Do things that save you time. For example, one of the things that I really do that really, really saves me time is weighing out my dry ingredients way ahead of time. So what do you do when you don't get those cake orders? When you don't get those cake orders, make sure that you keep yourself busy by weighing out your dry ingredients, packaging them away in a Ziploc bag, labeling them, because those are the things that really take a lot of time. Those are the things that those are time killers. Like, they take your time. You cannot be weighing out ingredients when you have so much to do. So on the day you bake, you just basically take out your Ziploc bag, and then you just add in your wet ingredients. So those are just some mechanisms that you can employ to save time in your baking business. So today I'm really just coming out here, showing you my love in terms of what you can do to save yourself time, and the importance of understanding your recipe. It's so important. And the key thing when it comes to understanding your recipe is to trial and error, to try it multiple times, tweak your recipe, see what works. Is it the oven that's really giving you trouble? Is it the recipe that's giving you trouble? Try to find out what is the real thing that's giving you trouble. Okay, because I know that sometimes bakes don't come out right. It's not because you didn't measure out your ingredients properly, or that you made a baking mistake or a flop. It's really just because the oven is failing you. It's really just because the oven is not set to the right temperature, and you take it out because the recipe instructions is saying remove the cake from the oven after 45 minutes, right? But then the oven is not set right. Trial these recipes, test them. And when you get recipes online, some of these recipes are we have different altitudes, and the person that wrote this recipe is probably saying 180 degrees, but then you are at a different altitude. In terms of your geographic location, you are at a different altitude than the person that you are reading, or that has shared the recipe. So those altitude differences can also mean that your oven settings will not be the same. So please test things out in your kitchen. Make sure things are working out for you. If you got a new oven and you are not getting the results that you used to get, it's probably because you still need to understand this oven, the settings. Buy a oven thermometer so that you are able to set this oven to the exact same temperature, because some ovens would give you a certain temperature setting, but it's actually, in actual fact, it is not that setting. So to be sure, you want to buy an oven thermometer, and you want to place it in your oven just to make sure that, just to double check that the temperature you've set on the oven is exactly the same as what the oven thermometer is showing you. So yeah, that is what I wanted to share today. My cake love, in terms of understanding your recipe and what really goes into it. It's not just you making a mistake. Sometimes it's the oven, sometimes it's the settings, sometimes it's one or little few tweaks that you actually just need to apply to get that bake right. So I'm coming to you today from my bedroom, as I said. But then, yeah, that is it from me for today. Please do take care of yourself, and I'll be back for another one quite soon. Bye for now.